was the fantastic, unbelievable, great debut of one Jalen Green.
Body-wise, I felt really good. Overall, I was really just excited to get out there. I was telling the guys and everything that I couldn't even sleep. Usually I take a pregame nap, and I couldn't even get my nap in. I was so excited. But, it was a lot of fun out there. Just got to keep stacking days.
The only other Sun to score more in their Suns debut was Charles Barkley, who dropped 37 points back in 1992, a game that I watched from Granny's closet over wings and beer in Flagstaff, Arizona. Oh, yeah, we went to Granny's closet for a lot of the Suns games back in the early 90s, especially for the Charles's first year. Oh, yeah, a lot. So that is...
Were you a student then?
Oh, yeah.
You were a student?
Oh, yeah.
Okay.
I was going into that was my senior year at NAU.
Okay.
Yeah. And so we went to Granny's a lot.
I've heard of it.
A lot.
I'm sure I was there.
It's the one with there's a big tall Louis the Lumberjack statue outside of it.
Yeah.
Really good wings, really good beer, and they always had the Suns game, and because it was Charles Barkley, we were there a lot to watch those games. So Jalen Green's 29 last night. The second highest by Suns making their debut.
Could not have been a better debut. I mean, he was great right from the get-go. I mean, he was just on. You just saw everything in his arsenal he brought. His ability to go downhill, attack the basket, get to the rim, score, three-point plays, three-point shots. I thought his defense was very active. You could see the athleticism. I've always said he's more athletic than Book, but not as efficient as Book. He's not a good passer. But he's a hard guy to defend, but his passing was fine last night. He's a streaky guy, and what I've told people a lot last night at the game, I said, this is a great game, but he is a streaky player. Like, he could back this up by going 2 for 12 in his next one. So, he's not the most consistent guy. But you could see how difficult he was to guard, his ability to attack, to go downhill, to get in transition. I was really looking at the first half, and I remember my notes, which I left at home, but my notes they didn't have any fast break points in the first half. They just were not getting out and running. They had a sluggish first quarter. They couldn't get out. They were not in transition.
A lot of turnovers. First half.
And then in the second half, they got out and they started to run a little bit more. You had the incredible alley-oop dunk to Ryan Dunn, and they were just really playing well, and it was just, okay, let's run on this team, and they're able to do that. So I could not be more impressed with Jalen Green's performance. And, the thing we'll say about Jalen Green, we got to say it over and over, he's 23 years old. Mm-hmm. The Suns have a dynamic scorer who's 23 years old. This doesn't mean he's an all-star and he's a great, but he can do it. Like, he showed you what he's capable of.
Yeah.
He's capable of these games in which he could just flat-out dominate.
No, he did, and it all kind of culminated in that third quarter. I think it was their first 40-point quarter of the season in any game so far this year. The third quarter, they outscored them 40-23. It just opened up a whole bunch of three-point attempts, wide-open three-point attempts. Green was setting up Book. Book was setting up Green. They made 12 shots in the quarter. 8 were assisted upon. I mean, it was beautiful, aggressive downhill basketball, and it allowed him to. And that's the thing that stood out. Well, a lot of things stood out to the coach, Jordan Ott. But that budding chemistry between the two of them really popped off the page.
Yeah, and again, I think it's so hard because of the lack of playing time they've had together. But that just shows how high level each of them are. Skilled, talented, really, really good basketball players. Really good basketball players figure it out. And they're doing it on the fly in an NBA game, not easy. So, yeah, anytime we can crack the paint, put them in the paint, and, get the ball in the paint, put anyone in a closeout, especially when you're an elite offensive threat, I think that's advantageous for us.
But I think you mentioned the big key here, and the big key is to keep this all in perspective, given that it was just one game, and not trying to throw a bucket of ice water on any of this. It was a fantastic debut. It was a fun game to watch. It was, it's just another example of yet another fun game to watch by the Phoenix Suns this year when there were so few of those last year. So few. I don't want to take anything away from that. But our buddy John Voida over at Bright Side of the Sun, and I think he just published this today. So I'm gonna read this to you because this is
hot off the presses.
This is hot off the presses. Hot off the presses.
Wow.
Which,
okay.
Is a phrase that doesn't apply to the internet, but whatever. He writes, there are stretches where he's dialed in, stretches where he fades, and the overall view is one of inconsistencies. He goes, I went back and I looked at every single game that he played, combing through every game Jaylen Green played in his 4 years with Houston. I charted his scoring totals, probably to a level that no sane person should. What he found is that he scored 30 or more points 51 times in his career. He's finished with 15 or fewer 107 times in his career.
So
35.
So to break that into thirds, because it's a third. So it's 50. So that's 150 games total.
Right.
That's 150 games, basically.
Mm-hmm.
In a third of those games, he gave you 50 points. He gave you 30 points or more.
Yes.
And in the other 2/3 of those games,
15 or fewer.
He gave you 15 or fewer.
Everything else was in between those two.
So
out of 407 games, which is the total that he played, it was 400 something.
So every third game, you could expect him to go for 30 based on those numbers.
Yeah.
It's. Can he be more consistent?
Can he be?
Here?
And that's the
because
point.
Because he's a more mature player now.
I mean,
it's a different coach. It's a different team.
That's what we're going to find out. He's older. I think it's a better. I mean, I think the big key here that hopefully will lead to this consistency. He's never played with a Devin Booker before in the backcourt ever. He's never had that guy. Fred VanVleet is a good player. He's not Devin Booker. You know, VanVleet's a very good point guard in this league. He's not Devin Booker in terms of that ability to kind of do it all. And I do wonder how playing next to a Devin Booker allows Jaylen Green to more consistently be great Jaylen Green night in and night out.
But it also may take away some scoring opportunities because VanVleet is a good point guard that can get you the ball in good spots to score. Who's going to do that on the Suns? It might be Gillespie because he's a good point guard, but can Book do that? Can Book get Green some baskets like that? You know, because VanVleet's able to get you some easy baskets. When you get 30 in a game, you're getting a couple of like easy baskets where a point guard or somebody set you up for a nice can somebody do that for Jalen Green? Can Book do that for Green?
Yeah, I mean, and he even put it in like a chart form, you know, like a graph almost. And I mean, it's just wildly up and down. I mean, there's no, you know, like you would expect to a certain extent, a great player or even an average player, it'd be kind of a steady rise or a steady fall.
Yeah.
But over the course of a season, up, down, up, down, up, down, you know, like almost like he compares to almost like an EKG reading of your heart where it just, you know, goes up and it spikes and it goes like that. So that's going to be the challenge. That's going to, and we'll see if being in a better offensive system, having a Devin Booker next to him, more maturity, being a year older. I mean, like all of the things, we'll see if that leads to it. If it does, if Jaylen Green, he doesn't need to do this every single night, but if he can be a steadier, consistent version of himself, the Suns have absolutely found something here, right? The Suns have absolutely stumbled on something that could be very, very good for them. It's kind of on him.
37-year-old guy for a 23-year-old guy. Not that Kevin Durant's still not one of the best players in the game, because he is, okay? No, not knocking KD. KD's great. But it's nice when you're not going to win. If you're starting over with a 23-year-old instead of a 37-year-old, it makes a lot less money. That's not too bad.
Thanks for watching Burns and Gambo. Click to see more from the guys and hit the button in the middle to subscribe so you never miss a video from Arizona sports.